All right, I think we are live. Good morning, good morning. Hello, hello, welcome in. My name is Elliott Martin, and I'm an independent insurance agent. I'm going to be covering Medicare topics of the day, different topics having to do with Medicare. And today's topic, and happy Friday, by the way, it's Friday today, which is nice, going into the weekend. Today's topic is going to be, oh gosh, what was the name of it? I just had it here. Basically, what are the things that HR managers should know about Medicare? And this applies, if you're an HR manager out there watching this, of course this applies, but you can also use these if you're the employee wondering, what kind of information you need to get from your HR manager. If you have employer group insurance, this video will also apply to you. So some of the basics that HR managers should know about Medicare. So if you're an HR manager out there, you've got employees at the company that you work for, and they're going to be turning 65. And if those employees are planning to continue to work and have coverage through the employer group health insurance plan, then it's kind of like what do we need to do about Medicare, right? So there's a couple questions that usually we ask when it comes to determining whether or not somebody can delay Medicare. So one of the first questions, if the employee is turning age 65 and becoming eligible for Medicare because they're turning age 65, the first question you want to ask or you want to think about is, does the employer have 20 or more employees? If the employer does have 20 or more employees, then that employer group insurance is going to be primary to Medicare. So even if the employee were to add Medicare and keep their employer group plan would remain the primary insurance. So actually, in that case, we'll suggest most of the time that individual just apply for Part A of Medicare and delay everything else. Okay. And Part A is hospital coverage on Medicare. There's no monthly premium. It would run secondary to the employer group plan. So it's kind of just running in the background, no cost. And it's there. The person is issued out a Medicare card, so they'll get a Medicare number. They're in the Medicare system. And then that way it makes the transition over to Medicare in the future easier, since that person already will be issued out a Medicare card with just Part A on it. And then later they'll have to add on Part B, and then they can do Medicare supplement insurance or Medicare Advantage plans. But 20 or more employees for somebody who's turning age 65, they can usually delay Part B of Medicare, just apply for Part A at age 65. You'll be able to delay Part B, no penalties, no late enrollment fees or anything like that. So that applies if somebody's turning age 65. Now, if let's say you have an employee whose spouse is becoming eligible for Medicare due to a disability and they're under age 65, then the employee number goes up to 100. So as long as the employer group plan, the employer has 100 or more employees for somebody who's becoming eligible for Medicare due to disability under age 65, then that threshold is 100 employees. If the group has 100 or more, then you can delay Part B of Medicare. Your employer group insurance remains primary. Now, if you're a group under 100 employees, then that individual needs to be enrolled into Part A and Part B of Medicare, because at that point, Medicare is supposed to be primary. Okay, so those are a couple different things. Most situations, it's going to be somebody turning age 65 and becoming eligible for Medicare that way, where the threshold is just the 20 employee amount. Okay, so that's the first question is, how many employees does the group have, the employer have? If it's, most of the time we're looking at the 20 employee mark. Okay, so that's the first thing. The other thing that HR managers want to verify, as far as the plans that are offered through the employer group plan, you want to make sure, or you want to verify, which plans have credible prescription coverage. And if there are any plans that do not have credible prescription coverage, we want to be aware of those plans. Because what happens is, if employees are enrolled into a plan that isn't considered credible prescription coverage, and by credible prescription coverage, that means that the prescription coverage needs to be either as good or better than you can find on Medicare. So if an employee doesn't have credible prescription coverage, they're going to start to accrue a Part D, that's D as in Delta, penalty. So prescription drug plan penalty on Medicare, which would be assessed at the time they make the switch over to Medicare completely and enroll into a prescription drug plan. Most employer group plans, from what I've seen, are credible prescription, do have credible prescription coverage. However, I have seen some that may not be considered credible prescription coverage. And a lot of times it's plans that are high deductible plans. So be aware if they're high deductible plans, or if you're enrolled into a high deductible plan, you really want to double check to make sure you have credible prescription coverage in order to delay Part D of Medicare without penalty. The other consideration that we need to take into account is if any of the plans have an HSA component, a health savings account component. That gets a little tricky because actually the IRS, I believe, does not like when somebody is enrolled into any parts of Medicare and also making contributions to a health savings account, which is pre-tax. So usually we really need to double check to make sure if somebody does have an HSA plan through their employer, you got to make sure you have credible prescription coverage. And then as long as you have credible prescription coverage, then you don't want to enroll into any parts of Medicare. And another thing is you have to stop contributions 6 months prior to applying for Medicare in the future. So you kind of have to plan things out a little bit more, a little bit more carefully when you have that HSA component to your health plan through your employer. If you do plan on making those contributions, it gets a little bit tricky there, just timing everything up, making sure you're doing everything by the books. If you do have questions, reach out to us. You can visit us at martinmedicare.com. It's martinmedicare.com, and you can schedule time to chat with us. We'll be happy to walk you through that process on a more, specific level, more detailed level, I should say, based on your exact situation. So that's it. That's pretty much the two big things that HR managers should know about is the 20 employee mark for those turning 65, or the 100 employee mark if somebody's becoming eligible or a spouse is becoming eligible for Medicare due to disability, not necessarily because they're turning age 65. And then the other component is the credible prescription coverage component. We want to make sure that if you have employees that are going to stay on the employer group plan, that they have credible prescription coverage through the employer group plan. Okay, well, that was a lot of information that I just went over and kind of into the weeds with delaying Medicare. But yeah, if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, martinmedicare.com. Also, the Medicare.gov website is a great resource. And just Google searching Medicare second payer. There's a lot of information about Medicare second payer situations and when that would apply. That's kind of the key terminology there is Medicare second payer. So that is it for today. That is the Medicare topic of the day. Today is Friday, so we're going to be heading into the weekend. Leave any comments or questions you have in the comment section. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week, and have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.